Thanks, everyone.
Great. So I think we can start, right? Maris, I think we can start. We have, I'm sure that people will continue to join in. So hi, everyone. Mucho gusto. Hola, mi nombre es Giselle Barrera. I am the founder of Latinas in Coffee, and we're so excited to have this first career panel conversation to talk about how to take up space and grow our careers in the coffee industry, how some of our panelists have been successful at creating spaces for themselves and for others in the industry, how we can continue to grow and create spaces for one another and support one another. This is part of the career panel series with Women in Coffee Project, and Amaris will introduce herself as well. I won't take too much time because we want this to be more like a conversation, and we want to hear from our panelists and from questions that you might have as well. And we're just so excited to have this exchange with one another. So Amaris, maybe you can go next, and then we'll just ask our panelists to introduce themselves as well. And Amaris, if you can tell us how the panel will work as well in terms of logistics.
Yeah, totally. Well, welcome everybody. Bienvenidos a todos. I am Amaris Gutierrez Rey. I'm the founder of the Women in Coffee Project, which started in 2018. So it's been a few years on now. We originally started with a goal to be doing a lot of in-person events, but thankfully because of the pandemic, we switched to a lot of virtual meetings, which I think has actually been even better and an amazing way to connect with everybody. Because like Giselle said, we have so much in common, and we have so many things that we're doing that are really impactful for women everywhere. And so it makes a lot more sense for us to come together like this virtually to share in each other's challenges and journeys. So today is the start of a Careers in Coffee series that we're going to do virtually, hopefully one a quarter. Ya vino Carla. So Carla, we're just trying to put her in the pin. There we go. So today you're actually not going to be hearing too much from me. Lucky for you, you're going to be hearing more from all these amazing women. But I'm going to be working as like a little bit of a Zoom facilitator. But yeah, our Careers in Coffee kind of series was started out an idea to share more about our professional journeys, because that is something a lot of women have in common everywhere. We make a lot of our own opportunities, and we work really hard at affirming each other's professional growth. So I think this is a really great space to be able to normalize women at the table. And I'm so excited to learn and hear more from the women panelists invited here today. So I'm gonna step back, take myself off video, and pass it on to ask our panelists to introduce each other. But quickly, I'll say too, our format today is going to be more conversational based, like Giselle said. There's going to be space at the end for a lot more Q&A, but if you have questions throughout, like if you're saying like, oh, I'd love to ask Sara more, to speak more on this particular thing, put it in the chat. Y si habla español, por favor, escribe en español y yo puedo traducir. We all are speaking a little bit of Spanglish here today, so we can answer any questions in either language, and the panelists will be able to speak to it. We'll have a little bit of time at the end. And also Giselle will speak at the end about a project that she actually started. Hopefully we can all contribute to create more tangible ways for women to access growth in their own professional journey. So thank you everyone for being here, and I'll pass it over to our amazing panelists to introduce themselves. If we want to start, I'm going to just do clockwise in my little Zoom here. Itzel, if you want to start, that would be awesome.
Hi, hello. Good morning. I'm Itzel Mendoza Olmos from Bin Voyage, and I live in Veracruz, Mexico, which is one of the coffee producers states in my country. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Sara, you want to continue?
Yes, sorry for the noise there you are going to listen today, but yeah, it is what it is. So hi everyone, I'm so glad to be here to share with you. I'm Sara Corrales, I'm from Nicaragua. I'm working in sales and quality control of Los Pinos Farm, but I have my own coffee shop too, and I think that almost all of us are involved in different areas and different part of the coffee industry. So I'm part of different areas. So I sometimes I never know how to introduce myself, but I can say to you guys there, there are so many things that are really interesting in the coffee industry, and I hope that today we speak a lot about that.
Cynthia, do you want to go keep it going?
Hello, hi everyone. I am also at the office right now and there's people copying, so you might be hearing some noise outside, but hello everyone. My name is Cynthia. I am from Peru. I am an engineer and the first one in my family to be working in coffee, actually. I have a project that is called Collective Bean, which is an exporting company that has is based on transparency and flexible logistics and a lot of business management for coffee related stuff, which is kind of new. And being a woman in coffee, there are not many in Peru. And it's a big challenge, but it's a good one, and it's been fun so far. So I hope you can, and we can share a lot about this in Peru. Thank you.
Gracias, Cynthia. Okay, last but definitely not least, Carla, if you want to introduce yourself for us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carla. I'm from San Juan, Puerto Rico, and I'm the co-owner of Café Comunión. As Sara was mentioning, I do a lot of things in coffee as well, so it's really hard to explain. But I also currently work for Fairtrade USA as a coffee supply relations manager. And yeah, looking forward to talk more about all the things that we do in coffee.
Great. Yeah, I think we had everyone, right? Yeah. Great. Yeah. So thanks to the panelists to share a little bit about themselves, where they're, a little bit of their coffee journey. Before we jump in to the question and discussions, I do want to share something that Amaris mentioned, that we are a project that we are launching here in this panel, and we hopefully will grow into the future. And I will share my screen very quickly. So we are launching the first Latinas in Coffee Scholarship Fund. So one of the things that we all know as we are here is that oftentimes training or access to education spaces can be costly and expensive. So this is a fundraiser that we launched recently. We will continue to push through our networks and hope to find partners along the way that want to contribute. And what this will be is a fund that will, for our first scholars, depending on the goals that we achieve with the fundraising, is to give each scholar a $400 scholarship to pay for expenses related to any course that she wants to take to further their knowledge in the coffee industry. So the requirements is to identify as a Latina woman. For now, our scholarships will be focused on women living in an origin country and working in activities related to coffee production, and to have experience in community work. So from our experience, some of the women that we've connected with through this initiative is that whenever we provide training opportunities, they multiply throughout their community, right? So we're very excited. We will share the link for the fundraiser with you guys after this panel, but we really hope to fundraise enough for award the first scholarships to our scholars early next year. So we're very excited. We hope that you join us in spreading this initiative. And like we said, our scholars will be free to select the course that they think works best for them, and we'll be super excited to partner with organizations that want to support this scholarship. So that's a quick comment about the scholarship, and then we'll start with a question for our panelists. So I want to hear from our panelists first, like, how did you get started in coffee, some of the challenges that you faced, and so our friends who are joining us can hear a little bit about your experience as well. So maybe we can start with Carla. Maybe we can start with you. We're going clockwise like Amaris. Carla, we can start with you. Like, how did you get started? And yeah, we'll start there.
Yeah, so I think in coffee, I have two beginnings. That's how I see it. First of all, I'm a teacher, so I'm a history teacher. And Puerto Rico is a producing country. So I would take my students to coffee farm, right? And just study the history of coffee and cacao and all that. My second beginning in coffee was as a translator and as a coffee editor for a magazine. I did that job for 4 years. When I started in that environment of magazines and editors and all that, a lot of producers started like writing to me when they read articles, and they thought like I was an expert, but I was just translating, and also I was just kind of interviewing and doing research and doing discovery. So I was not an expert in the topic. I was just doing my job. So one year I said like enough is enough. Like I need to understand this and I need to really like get down. And I decided to go to Honduras. And thanks to Carlos Pineda, a man who opened the doors, and he said, "Come, like I will teach you everything about cupping. I will teach you everything about quality and green coffee analysis and all that. And you just write articles for us." So we did kind of a trueque. And like he would just teach me, and I spent the whole summer in Honduras and just knowing every coffee region, understanding everything, like the complexities of the industry. And I think that moment in time just opened the doors for more. Even though I stayed with the magazine a few more years, I opened my cafe, and I think doing that type of networking with other men in the industry, but also other women, and just getting to know everyone opened the doors to other opportunities. And lastly, I think I just coffee is weird. Like there's not a path. So you just start kind of like navigating everything, and people just start opening the doors depending, how much you push. So I think I push a lot, and I think those two beginnings for me, it's how I started in coffee.
Thank you, Carla. Yeah, I think that a lot of us can relate in like coffee finds you. You do not always find coffee. So thank you for sharing that. Itzel, maybe we can go with you next.
Yes, thank you. Well, let me tell you a little about my own background for those who are listening and wish to begin a career in the world of coffee. Here in Mexico, we have universities specialized in areas such as biology, agriculture, and farming. I studied in one of these, the Universidad Autónoma Agraria Antonio Narro, a public university in Saltillo, Coahuila. The Narro, as we call it, offer great opportunities to Mexican youth who want to study in areas such as agriculture. Narro is a place, a home, where you could definitely begin your career in the world of coffee or any agricultural product. After studying in the north of the country, I went back to my state. And here is where I met with the Colegio de Postgraduados Córdoba campus, which is another public institution dedicated to teaching, research, and correlation of agricultural topics. In their 7 campuses, they offer over 18 master and 11 doctorates. This is where I study my master in landscaping, and I have been training in cupping for the last couple of years, because they have a wonderful area which studies the production of coffee, the transformation, the bean quality, and the added value to the coffee. I wanted to tell you a little about both of these institutions, which have for me, first, because I'm proud to have studied here, but also because sometimes we don't know that there are accessible places such as this with a high level of education and maybe be the key of entering to the world of the coffee on Mexico. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about these universities because in Mexico, they are free if you are Mexican. So I'm going to put in the chat the Liga from both universities. If you are listening, if you are from Mexico, or even though if you are of another country, you can come in Mexico and study. Thank you.
Thank you, Itzel. That's great. And we'll talk about resources available as well. So thank you so much for sharing that. Cynthia, we go with you next.
Yes, hello everyone. As I was mentioning, I am an industrial engineer. I didn't grow up in a coffee area. I was living in the main city, and I got a call from a friend one day, and he asked if I wanted to work as a translator for a coffee cooperative, and I said, why not? And it kind of sort of changed my life. I fell in love with coffee, and I decided I had to work in coffee somehow. I began to work as a translator for coffee cooperatives, helping, and a lot of my industrial or engineering background helped a lot to translate properly and help make the translations accurate enough to facilitate for businesses being done. And then I realized that producers didn't really have the way to actually make the operations come true. So one day, one of the farmers looked at me and said, "You're gonna have to export these coffees. You have to help us." And that's how it started. And it's been 6 years now. It's been really hard. Peru is a very conservative country, and it's mainly all of the coffee companies are dominated by men. So it's a bit of a challenge. And it kind of changed my life completely since I started coffee. Now I live in a producing area in the north part of Peru, but I have had the chance to move to live in several different areas of Peru where they produce coffee and cacao, and nothing I'm very happy to share with you.
Thank you, Cynthia. That was great. And I think a lot of us can relate with that, with like working perhaps in environments that see more of a male leadership traditionally in coffee. And that oftentimes, I'm sure for you as a young woman leading a coffee initiative. So we'll talk about that in a minute as well. But like last but not least, Sara, we'll love to hear your experience.
Hi again. So in my case, it was a little different, but maybe it's like the regular story that we hear when we hear mostly about the new generation. So in my case, my family produced organic coffee for 4 generations. And for me at this moment, part of just to be part of the coffee industry was a decision. And I think that this is something that mostly we need to understand when we speak about coffee family producers. It is there just to be part of a new generation in the coffee industry. It is a decision. So in my case, of course, I just grew up surrounded of all these coffee plantation, but just trying to understand this industry and what do you want to do with them. It is part of the process, isn't it? So in my case, I'm more involved in the quality control. This is the first time that I really understand what we do on the farm. So if you ask me how I start, I can tell you in the coffee lab, because even there I grew up just to see how we can produce a really great coffee. Part of how I understand the coffee really was in the sensory part. So in my case was the coffee lab, but later than that, I understand that this industry is so big and that you can be involved and you can have more education about different areas, has commercializations, quality control, even how to be part of the essence in the cafeterias too. So in my case, it was more just to trying to understand what type of coffee we produce. And later than that, I just be more deep and deep and deep in this. And I understand that in the case of Nicaragua, for example, we don't really have access to a lot of education, mostly in coffee. And this education actually is not cheap. So if we're really thinking about it, how we can get access to this information was the most bigger challenge for me. And what I understand, it is there, in my case, I studied marketing. So I understand that I can relate my career with the business of my family. And just to trying to understand that part of the process was just to be more involved with the coffee buyers too, and trying to understand what I can exchange with them. For example, I know a lot of about to producing, and they know a lot of about to how to sell the coffee, how to roast in the coffee, how to do all the all the stuff there is going on later than you send the coffee. So in my case, was that experience, and now I'm studying a master degree in coffee and economic science. Yeah, so that was part of my specific process that I understand that every of us have different way to follow their own way.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, thank you for sharing your experience as well, and your experience with education. What you mentioned is so key about the accessibility to education, right? Accessibility to information for everyone at origin countries, that the seller is well aware of the quality of the product as much as the buyer knows about the product, right? So saludos a las personas que se acaban de unir, to everyone that just joined. We're talking with our panelists. We'll have some open Q&A in a few minutes. But the following question that I have for each of our panelists, and then we'll open the conversation, is if you have one advice, right, that you would give to someone that is starting their career in coffee, growing their career in coffee, and one resource that you would share with them so that they could use. But then also to everyone that signed up for this panel, and we'll make sure Amaris and I, that as part of the Latinas in Coffee and Women in Coffee project initiatives, we want to have like an open spreadsheet where you can log in, and if you found a useful resource, you can type it in there so that others can benefit from it as well. Because oftentimes, I don't know if it happens to you guys, but I know of something because Sara sends it to me, or Carla sends it to me, or Amaris tells me, did you see this? Like, did you see? Or Itzel would send me an event. So oftentimes it's through referrals. So the more we grow our network, the more we want to be able to share resources like this. So that's, coming up after the panel. But right now, yeah, from our panelists, one advice that you would share, and if you have it, if not, we can share it later, but one resource that you would recommend for others. So maybe we'll go in the same order, if that's okay. Carla, we can start with you.
I'm like, that's not okay, but it's okay. So I think there's a few questions like how, like, kind of like tips and also like resources, right? So I think, like, don't underestimate the skills that you already have that are not about coffee. I think in coffee, I opened my own path with my teaching skills, and I didn't know anything about it. Also, with the ability for me to translate not only from one language to another, but also translate or transfer a message, right? Not everyone in coffee has that ability. Like, you have a lot of pros and you have a lot of people with a lot of knowledge, but when they try to explain, when they try to kind of have a more impact or multiply the effect, it's really hard for them because they're like closed on their own niche, right? So the ability that I own, like that I really have before coffee, were key to my success in coffee. So never like underestimate those things that you already have. I always say to people, and I think this has come with maturity and experience as well, because in the beginning I wanted to burn it all, but you learn how to navigate, right? And we do like the FODA or the SWOT, like know your worth, like what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, like what can you kind of bring to the table, what you need to kind of add to those skills. And I think after that, like just create a path. And the second thing is volunteer. In coffee, like I started volunteering. I didn't earn anything. Like I didn't earn $1. Like I started like translating, and I did it for free because I really wanted more resources in Spanish. When I got my big opportunity with a coffee importer was because I volunteered to be a copying assistant at an event, and I ended up giving a panel. Don't even ask me how that happened, but it happened, right? So like in reality, like volunteer and not, there's a fine line, like I'm not getting paid, like, like be wise on that, but there's like key events that you can volunteer, that you can really go and kind of start creating those networks, right? And the last thing, because I know I don't like to talk a lot. I like to be like specific. But the last thing is get rid of like those unfounded doubts or insecurity. Every time I listen to men talking coffee, they never start with, I'm so nervous, or oh, thank you for listening to me. Don't do that. Like, let's stop doing that. Like, just even though if you're like nervous inside and you're like dying and you're sweating like I'm sweating right now, the reality is like if you go back and you kind of try to, if you watch men talk, they never express that doubt, like unfounded doubts, even if they have them, like they're so insecure, but they never express them. And I think one of the things in the copy that have really helped me is like, like just be confident and not cocky, but confident, like be secure, and you learn through the process. And what you don't know, you can learn. Like don't never let an opportunity pass because you're insecure. Go for it, like go for it. And if something happened, well, it didn't work, but just go for it. I think those are the kind of things that I could contribute. And also like subscribe to all of the things in coffee, like SCA and like all the like newsletters. We just all know, like I was a lead scholar, and that's how I got an opportunity. Just try to be in the moment, try to be present, and try to look beyond your frontiers, and yeah, basically that.
Thanks so much, Carla. That was great. That was so much, like I feel like I'm taking notes. We'll have quotes after the panel because I feel like we will get quotes from all of this. Yeah, I wanted to mention something that you said, but then there were so many things. But that was great. So thank you, Carla, for the immediate actionable advice, right? And I would say like, like when we see people that have received scholarships, or I know that I have applied for a bunch of things, and when you get no, I would say also don't get tired of applying, right? Because I know that like Carla and a few of my friends who've been lead scholars or RICO scholars, they don't get a yes on the first application, right? So continue to apply, and don't become discouraged from no's, because with everyone that's been here, we've gotten so many no's that we couldn't count them, right? So thanks so much, Carla, for that. We'll continue maybe with you, Itzel. You can go next.
Yes, thank you. Well, in the same page as Carla said, no digas que estás nerviosa, aunque estés nerviosa porque vas a hablar en inglés. But I consider that there are few magical ingredients in order to remain in this complicated world of coffee, such as honesty, transparency, passion, and love for your work, and above all, the support and backing of the network formed by strong women, like the ones in this panel. Having them, and knowing I'm part of this group strengthens me, empowers me, and makes me feel sheltered. I really love and I'm really excited about working for small producers of coffee with the great team of Bin Voyage. Collaborating with this organization gives me the opportunity to contribute to topics I'm passionate about and which have interested me, worried me, and occupied my thoughts for most of my life, such as coffee cultivation, women producers, climate change, equality, and art in the countryside. I truly appreciate the invitation to this panel, and you're always welcome to Veracruz. Thank you.
Gracias, Itzel. Yeah, and I think the importance of like networks, right? And how we are each other's network that supports each other. So thank you. Cynthia, maybe we can go with you.
Yes, well, the first time I was going to visit a coffee community, someone I know that asked me, what are you going to offer them? Why should they listen to you? And that got me thinking. And I realized that even if the coffee industry has been running for a while, it is changing, and there is a lot of space for change and for new ideas. So even if you haven't been in this industry for 20 years, or maybe even if you're not a professional, there are still so many skills that you already have that can bring something new to the table and maybe change things around and make things happen. And this is a very specific thing about women, that we also tend to be kind of dreamy or not so hard on reality. We kind of trying to think that everything is possible. So it is, if you work hard enough, everything is possible and you can make things happen at your own pace. So maybe that would be my advice if you want to start in coffee. Just don't be afraid, because things are changing, and everything you have can create and can become something new.
Thank you, Cynthia. Yeah, that's so important to believe. And I can certainly relate to like what you can offer within coffee. It's perhaps you have a few years in the industry, but I also love Carla's advice of what we don't know, we can learn. And I think the passion for coffee kind of creates that drive to continue learning and continue adding value to the people that we work with. Yeah, last but not least, Sara.
This is like a hard question because, well, first of all, I will say the working coffee is hard. I think all of us, we know that at this time, but now that we recognize there is no easier, I think my advice, mostly it is just, and maybe going to sound basic, but is enjoy what you do at this moment and just trying to learn and share. For example, in my case, I recognize that the problem it is there, the education in coffee, it is expensive, I know, but who need this education? Of course, it is there, the origin, it is the people who produce the coffee, because what's going on if these people doesn't know anything about quality control, it doesn't know anything about sensory, it doesn't know anything about commercialization, and all the important topic to be part of this industry. And how we can get this information in Latin America, I think that mostly it is shared. It is the way that we have at this time all this information and how we can share that information with other persons. So believe me that I learn mostly everything what I know at this moment, just to share, learning from different people, be part, and how Carla said before, doing volunteer, and just to trying to I will say take advantage of all the tools that we have at this moment. If you have the opportunity to go to a coffee conference, don't be shy and meet the people and trying to see if there are some people who is really interested to you, and mostly the networking, it will help you, of course, in the future, but later than that, you can do even business with them. And I will tell you something that the people love is sometimes with me, it is there sometimes I sell containers of coffee on Instagram, so that is really funny in my case, but it's something that is real and it's something that is happening, just to trying to use all your networkings and all your social media too, and don't be shy, because I think that at this time we have something in Nicaragua, and I think there may be in other countries in Latin America that we say there, si tenés limones, hace limonada. And I think there, this is around the world, isn't it? So if we have all this information, just to don't close the opportunities for beach time. So take advantage of that. There are so many scholarships in coffee at this moment. There are so many opportunities in women at this time, and we can work equally together with men too. So just to be part of a community, and if there doesn't exist a community in your country, building a community in coffee, just trying to share with them, and don't wait something from that community. For example, with us, what I do in Nicaragua, I just start to call some friends and say, hey, I have coffee from different countries. Do you want to copy with that? So now we are a community there. We do cupping session one time per month, and we try coffee there is producing around the world. So that's an experience, and that experience later will help you in the future for other different stuff. So I don't know, I think that I speak a lot about that, but
yeah.
just enjoy what you do.
No, that's great. And thank you, Sara, for sharing that last thing I wanted, like, at least at origin countries. Yo vivo en El Salvador, bueno, Excel está en México, Sara está en Nicaragua, Carla en Puerto Rico, Cindy en Perú, bueno, Amaris que está en Estados Unidos. But oftentimes you cannot try coffees from different countries. So any space that you can open to taste different coffees is a great opportunity as well. I don't know if you want to add something. I'll jump in and share, like, networking is one resource that I would think we all need to take advantage of more. Like Sara said, don't be shy. Carla just messaged me with like a great idea, you know, like if you are traveling for coffee, like if you enjoy traveling, I think that's one of the nicest things about coffee, that it's like a worldwide community. If we could have like a database that would be voluntary, right? You would opt in, sería como voluntario decir, I want to have my name, my Instagram handle in my city, or my phone number if to a directory, so that Carla is in Mexico today and she's visiting, and she could say, okay, you know, here we could all get together and meet up and exchange information, because oftentimes it's not easy to connect or to find people that we can connect in this way. So that's also a big part of what we want to do this. So I would just say, you know, and maybe we can have a chat about networking later, Amaris, and focus on like networking, like how do I network? How do I choose where to volunteer? Because I think there's also a lot of people that will be eager to take your time if you want to volunteer, but you have to be very careful of who and where to volunteer your time, so that they can align with your values and with the purpose of what you want to do in coffee. People that want to mentor you and help you, and hopefully you can find that network that wants to grow with you in coffee. Amaris, anything that you would add as a resource or as an advice for someone that's starting up and growing in coffee?
Yeah, I feel like, well, you guys all said it all, but you're so true. Everyone's saying really powerful things too about like, don't be afraid to ask questions. I think the thing that I found out really late, like I tried to learn how to roast coffee for a really long time, and finally found an opportunity to work for a company that trained me how to roast coffee. But even when I was beginning and asking questions and stuff, it seemed like all the men around me, because I didn't know any women at that time who were roasting coffee, they had the expectation that you had to learn, you had to know it all. That was the thing that it was like, if you have a question, like, oh, can't you find out the answer for that yourself? And I think that really hurt me as a really young person, because I was like, maybe there are things that I'm not doing to learn this faster. But I think especially for younger people, like no one knows everything. And especially in the world of coffee, le voy a decirles en español, especialmente en el mundo del café, nobody knows everything, que nadie sabe de todo, ¿verdad? And that is one of the most amazing things about the industry of coffee that made me really happy, that like cada paso abre más, like every step you take, it opens up more. And that was like the joy that I was finding at the beginning. It felt like people were trying to squash it because I had to learn everything, And I think that is a dangerous thing for people, because it can take away your joy, but it can also take away your own path to doing the things that, like Carla was saying from the beginning, like to learn your strengths and weaknesses. You need to be a little bit more in tune with yourself. So I think, yeah, be not afraid to ask questions. Nobody knows everything, and anyone who tells you that, mentiroso, and I'm specifically using the male version of that word. It's just not true. It's not true. So yeah, take advantage of the fact that it is a power to be learning, to be curious, to be open, because then that's when the world gives you a lot back.
Gracias, Mari. Sí, y algo que yo creo que todas quisiéramos ver más es la cara de una mujer latina cuando en un panel hay expertos que hablen sobre cupping, sobre sensory, sobre exporting, sobre importing, sobre producción de café. We want to see more Latin American women's faces on those expert faces, because then I think that we can start to see, like when we think of like a coffee expert, or if you Google a coffee expert and then you see the image of a photo, like what's the highest percentage of photos that you would get. So that's what we're trying to like see. I know there's so much knowledge and expertise already in all of us that oftentimes, at least in my work, previous work, working with women coffee farmers, there's so much knowledge, right? That needs to be, like Sarah was saying, there's an exchange of knowledge with your buyer. Yes, you can learn from your buyer or from your exporter, importer, roaster, you can learn, but you also have a lot to teach. So we need to like empower ourselves to believe that we have all this information to teach. That's kind of what we have from like the prompt questions for our panelists, but we'd love to hear any questions that you have, any comments. I know when we were prepping for this panel, there was a lot of conversations that came up about our own experiences as, you know, like a leader of a program and someone saying, yeah, but like who's in charge? Puedo hablar con su jefe, puedo hablar con el encargado o la persona que no es usted. I think we can all relate to those sort of interactions at one point in time and how we've navigated through that, right? And how we push through, continue to believe in ourselves. I think that ese famoso síndrome del impostor syndrome exists in coffee a lot. I think that's just my experience, that you are often surrounded by people that know a lot or that show themselves as experts. I think that a lot of people are not afraid to call themselves experts. I think we need to start feeling more empowered to, you know, at a certain point in time, not be afraid of labeling ourselves as experts too. So we'll open, Amaris, right, for like any questions or comments. As I said, you know, we'll share information about the Latinas in Coffee Scholarship Program. Once again, for those of you that just joined, a quick announcement. Once again, we are launching a Latinas in Coffee Scholarship Fund. This is a fundraiser that will keep open throughout the holiday season and the beginning of next year. And we're hoping to start awarding our first scholarships to the first Latinas in Coffee scholars early next year. The requirements are to identify as a Latina woman, to live in an origin country and work in activities related to coffee production, and to have experience in community work, such as volunteering, and help us multiply the knowledge that you will get from your scholarship stipend. So you will receive a $400 scholarship if you are selected as a scholar, and the application will be available in Spanish, of course, Spanish and English. And yeah, the scholar can select their own course and see what they can, I think that took a while to load, but yeah, this is the scholarship page and you guys will get the link as well. So I just wanted to share this because I know some of you joined after we made this announcement, and now we'll open the space for questions, comments. We'd love to hear some of your experiences as well, as this is like an open panel. And thanks for joining us this morning.
Yeah, if you have a question, you can also speak. You can unmute yourself or turn your video on, however you like.
O solo presentarse también. Creo que un valor agregado grande es como conocernos, ¿verdad? We have a lot of like roasters, coffee shop owners, coffee producers. Entonces es un buen espacio para conocernos entre todos también. Así que thank you for joining us. Any questions or comments that you have?
Well, maybe I can say hello to, I see here two of the producers of Bin Voyage, Dam, it's like from Mexico, and also Isabel, I saw in the panel. So hello, chicas, qué bueno que están aquí escuchando. Y en México también decimos una frase que es, el sol sale para todos o todas, y a veces en el mundo de la competencia, creo que si respiramos profundo y decimos el sol sale para todos, siempre podemos encontrar nuevas oportunidades.
Gracias, Itzel. No sé si Camila, si tienen alguna pregunta, se pueden abrir su micrófono y las escuchamos. Tal vez empezamos contigo, Camila.
Hola, hi everyone. Well, first of all, it is great. I mean, I love that you're doing this. I love to be part of this. It's so great to hear like other women experiences from different countries, which are in a way the same experience that one has. So it's great to, like Itzel says, like you're not alone. I think it's very important I mean, something that caught my attention is that most people here, like, we made our own path because we found it was hard for us to find a place in someone else's place, you know? It's like, it's been maybe hard for us to get a job in any coffee task just by being a woman, you know, because you're not trusted enough, or your knowledge or your capacity or your ability. So I think it's very valuable that we made our own path, but I think it's also important that we give the opportunity we were not given to others. So if we have the chance to give a job or to open an opportunity, just like think that there are many women, Latinas like us, that maybe don't have the opportunity to work for someone else, or that they have trouble finding where to, I don't know, find knowledge, find information. So if we can create also opportunities, because I don't know, like I've been in coffee for about 10 years now. When I started, I didn't see much women and much less Latinas. It's like, oh yeah, that woman is great. And yeah, she was like white and old and been there forever. So I think we can be like little by little role models for someone else, and that is cool. That is great. So thank you for opening this space. And yeah, I think we should share more about our ideas. I think what is applicable in Nicaragua is also in Ecuador, in Colombia, in like I don't know, we have the same idiosyncrasia, you know. It's like, so we understand how and what works, and I am sure that everything that works here can work in any other Latin country. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Gracias, Camila. Nitziel, seguimos contigo.
Hi, I don't have any question at this time. I'm just listening, learning. I was Carla's student when she was an history teacher. And I just learning about coffee right now. Thank you.
Gracias, Michelle. ¿Alguien tiene algún comentario, alguna pregunta? Sí, gracias, Camila. Qué importante, porque a pesar que en nuestros países, bueno, yo sé que hay oportunidades de conectar con otras mujeres en café, pero creo que la oportunidad de conectar internacionalmente a veces no se da, ¿verdad? Entonces, con lo que comentaba Carla, bueno, yo sé que para las personas que pueden ir de pronto a la Expo o el Producer Roaster Forum, que también viene pronto, bueno, si podemos hacer tal vez como reuniones alternativas como Latinas in Coffee Meetups, que sean como satélites, aparte para aprovechar a la gente que puede estar en una misma ciudad. Ahorita hay un evento, creo, de Barista League, también en Ciudad de México, que sería como buenísimo que las personas que están ahí podamos conectarnos como mujeres de Latinoamérica creciendo en café. Como decía Camila, a mí me ha pasado mucho también, o sea, encontrar mujeres liderando en la industria del café, pero de pronto no vemos como nuestra... no vemos como no nos identificamos tan fácilmente, ¿verdad? Con esas caras de personas que son, no sé, diferentes a nosotros. Entonces, ¿cómo podemos ir también haciendo? Lo hablábamos aquí, creo que en el café hay espacio para todos, ¿verdad? O sea, hay espacio para las personas que siempre han estado ahí, hay espacio para las personas que van iniciando y quieren agregar valor. A veces llegamos a una mesa y la mesa está llena, pero entonces, ¿cómo hacemos una mesa nueva y ponemos sillas alrededor para hacer otra mesa donde podamos inventar cosas y crecer cosas, ¿verdad? Entonces ese es el objetivo del trabajo que estamos haciendo con Women in Coffee Project, con Latinas in Coffee, con Bean Voyage, con todos estos colectivos y empresas que se están uniendo para compartir su experiencia. Entonces, sé que tenemos algunos minutos más. ¿Alguien más de las panelistas quiere agregar algo, o alguna pregunta o comentario? Pues la idea es que podamos intercambiar experiencias también.
Yo pudiese añadir que tal vez cuando uno entra al mundo del café, aunque es un mundo nicho, es un mundo tan amplio y con tantos rumbos y con tantas cosas, Y de verdad, cuando yo empecé, yo estaba bien abrumada. O sea, uno, pues, por el rampante machismo y algo que no podemos. Ay, I'm talking Spanish. Sorry. Sorry. I have to do it in English, right? Sorry.
Puede ser en español, Carla, puede ser en
No.
español.
I just,
Sí,
when
súper.
I'm passionate, I'm in
Sí,
Spanish.
claro.
I
No,
just
lo
can't do
es.
English. No, but the reality is like, and it was so overwhelming, like entering this world, like, you know, everyone around me was a man, and, you know, like, it could be frustrating. One of the things that helped me a lot is try to work on my microclimate. I would like to call it, like, my surroundings, and try to make an impact in that surrounding, and, you know, with my male colleagues and with other women colleagues, and try to make impact around me first, and then start moving to that microclimate. Sometimes in coffee, like everyone, and I think it's the problem with sustainability, like everyone wants to go from macro and just go in micro, and it should be the other way around. Like, we should start working on our surroundings, and that on our peers and environments. And this happened when I started working with importers. Like, importers is a male industry, like, there's no doubt about it. And Cynthia can can be a witness of this, and she can say more. But yeah, and you get frustrated, and sometimes you just want to, like, leave and just kind of. But then I changed my mindset, and I'm like, okay, I'll work on those around me, and this is going to keep spreading. And it actually happened, right? And in my company where I used to work, there's more women working. I was able to hire a friend too. So that a lot of things happen that helped me kind of survive those first years that were really hard, because you are really frustrated and overwhelmed, right? Yeah, so I just wanted to say that not be patient, because we shouldn't be patient, but start working on those around, like that environment around you that you have access, and then keep moving and keep like moving and spreading that word. I don't know, that's it. And guys, I have to leave. I'm sorry, I have to go to an event. So it has been amazing, and everyone has my contact, so feel free to contact me and anything. And thank you so much for the opportunity.
If anyone in this call is in Mexico City, message us and we can send you information of events, so you can connect with Carla for everyone who's in Mexico City. Gracias, Carla.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Gracias, Carla, por tu tiempo. Y sí, realmente algo que yo agregaría nada más es como no desanimarnos, ¿verdad? Como no mencionaba, hay muchas becas, muchas aplicaciones a las que podemos aplicar y nos dicen no. Muchas veces buscamos hacer networking, ¿verdad? Creo que nos ha pasado mucho a las personas que somos muy intencionales con hacer networking, y hay mucha gente que simplemente no le interesa agregar gente nueva a su red de contactos. No dice, no, we're good, thanks, you know, y está bien, pero no desanimarnos, y créanme que hay otros espacios donde sí vamos a pertenecer, donde sí vamos a sentir que hay una conexión y podemos crecer. Entonces, esa sería otra cosa que yo agregaría, como no desanimarnos. Personalmente he encontrado como muchos espacios, ambos, ¿verdad? Espacios de tal vez no es por aquí, pero sobre todo si en nuestros países sentimos que no hay muchos espacios, ¿qué pasa también, verdad? Buscar espacios con latinas que están en otros países o haciendo cosas similares a las nuestras. Me pasó mucho conectando con Sara, que está en Nicaragua, que yo sé que siempre está echando muchas ganas, Cintia, Itzel, Amaris, Jessica, que sé que también están haciendo cosas muy chéveres en KP14. Entonces siempre como conectar con gente que esté haciendo cosas chéveres para motivarnos en lo que queremos seguir haciendo, on the things they want to continue to do. So anything that you would add, Amaris? Thank you all for joining. I want to be mindful of everyone's time, but thank you so much for joining. We'll continue, we'll share the recordings, we'll share like quotes and a summary and a spreadsheet of resources that we recommend. If there's people in your networks that you think could contribute to the scholarship fund, let us know. We'll knock on as many doors as we can to fundraise and fully fund these scholarships so that we can offer. No contribution is too small. We'll take all contributions so that we can start selecting the first scholars early next year. And then you can see, you know, we'll all follow the story and the paths of these Latina women that will continue to grow their paths in coffee. Anything that you would add, Amaris, before we close, or any other our panelists, anything that you guys would add?
Yo solo quería decir...
Sí, claro.
Go ahead, Itzel.
Sí, que sí, que para mí también ha sido, al principio fue muy difícil entrar al mundo del café, pero cuando empecé a conocer, por ejemplo, a Camila y también a la organización de Change.org, se vino como una bola de nieve de cosas buenas. Y creo que a veces también tenemos que tomar el impulso de las cosas buenas y conocerlas a ustedes, a la gente que nos acompaña. Siempre me fortalece mucho y pienso que todo es posible. Cuando nos pongamos tristes o nos dé miedo a algo, recordemos que atrás de nosotros hay muchas chicas y que nos pueden escribir a Latinas o nos pueden escribir a Voyage y las vamos a ayudar. Siempre estamos dispuestas a dar una mano. Gracias. Muchísimas gracias por la invitación. Me siento muy honrada.
Te quiero agregar algo. Tal vez por ahí, si podemos cerrar los micrófonos para que nos podamos escuchar, lo agradecería mucho. Bueno, fuera de esto, me encanta que este panel haya sido como Spanglish, porque de repente el escuchar como la versatilidad e inclusive el hecho de poder escucharnos en estos dos diferentes lenguajes nos permiten como ver realmente cómo funciona esta industria, ¿no? Que dentro de este espacio el poder inclusive aprender inglés creo que te abre muchísimas oportunidades, ¿no? No solamente con el café, sino de que también con temas de educación, entre otras cosas más. Pero lo que les quería agregar acá es como compartir un poquito más de lo que había mencionado antes y es no cerrarnos a crear oportunidades, ¿no? Que si las puertas no están abiertas, porque algo que puede suceder, algo que sigue sucediendo, que va a seguir sucediendo, que como decía la Carla, un espacio que al final y al cabo, una industria que fue pensada para hombres, eso no quiere decir de que nosotras no vamos a abrirnos como ese camino, ¿no? Que no necesariamente es como quitar el espacio de alguien, sino más bien abrir nuestros propios espacios para que las cosas funcionen o inclusive para que podamos encontrar esa equidad. Entonces, lo que les quería agregar era esto, el hecho de que nos pudiéramos abrir también a escucharnos con estas diferentes voces, ¿no? Y no tener miedo inclusive a poder utilizar esta voz en los distintos lenguajes, en los distintos espacios, y también el poder crear o abrirles las puertas no solamente a la mujer que soy el día de hoy, sino de que también a las que vienen en las siguientes generaciones y así sucesivamente. A mí me sorprendió mucho que en Nicaragua, al trabajar con productoras de café, era un tema no solamente de educación en café, ¿no? Sino de que también era un tema de autoestima, era un tema de desarrollo personal, eran como muchas cosas sucediendo alrededor de esta industria. Entonces, en ese camino, el hecho de mencionar que no estamos solas, pues también un abrazo al trabajo colaborativo, pero también un abrazo a nosotras mismas a poder decirnos que es cierto que hay muchas más personas en este espacio que conviven y que tienen una historia bastante similar, parecida o que coincidimos, pero que también las oportunidades las podemos crear de forma individual. Entonces, un abrazo colectivo individual, creo que es lo que le estoy mandando desde acá.
Sí, gracias. Una última cosa que mencionas de ese abrazo colectivo individual, Sara, tal vez quienes puedan, podemos, si tú puedes tomar una foto, Sara, quienes puedan encender sus cámaras. Yo sé que varias personas ya se fueron, pero hablando de ese abrazo colectivo, quienes puedan, si puedan encender sus cámaras para guardar una foto como de recuerdo. Gracias. Y tú nos dices cuando tomes la foto, Sara.
Bueno,
Puedan,
pongamos, si quieren, les doy así como 5 segunditos para
sí,
que prendan sus cámaras las que quieran
gracias
participar.
para conocer un poquito,
Exacto,
sí.
en
Ana
una
Graciela
foto.
Fresia.
Y bueno,
Hola, hola Ana Laura. Hola Yulma, qué gusto verla.
vamos a ver quién es más por aquí. ¿Estamos listas todas?
Sí, yo creo que sí.
Ok, entonces, a ver, vamos a la 1, 2 y ahora sí. Lista. Buenísimo. Listo.
Gracias, gracias nuevamente por el tiempo. Seguimos en contacto, ¿verdad? We'll continue to run these panels with Women in Coffee Project y estén pendientes, por favor, de la info del fundraiser de la beca. Si les interesa aplicar, pues, o conocen personas que estén en países productores que son excelentes candidatas para aplicar, excelente. También ahí estaremos recibiendo aplicaciones. Y seguiremos platicando para ver cuándo armamos el primer meetup de Latinas in Coffee, en el próximo evento de café que venga. No, me encantó esa es la idea, que podamos compartir en inglés y en español. Así que gracias a todos. Thanks everyone for joining. And we'll see you soon. We'll stay in touch. We'll see you guys very soon.
Thank you.
Thank
Gracias.
you. Bye.
Gracias. Adiós.
Bye.
Bye.
Gracias.
Gracias.